What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me, you can hear me. What's up, Shane? Nice to see your tie. I appreciate that, sir. Mazarine, nice to see you and your hubby, I think. What's up, Benjamin? What's up, Jeff Levy? What's up, Frank? What's up, Jeff? What's up, Jasek? How are you? Turn these cameras on, folks. I'm going to get Martini to throw everybody out who doesn't have a camera on because I love seeing your beautiful faces. Thanks, Elvira. Nice to see you. We got Bruce Porter. I see your head. That's pretty good. Christopher, nice to see you. JB, Daniel Nelson. Jeff Peterson is drinking some water or some moonshine. I'm not sure. CR is driving. Please pull over, CR. I don't like that. But yeah, we hate to see people driving, but do what you got to do. And look, we're going to lock in for probably the next 30 or 40 minutes and go super deep. I honestly believe this is probably the most important Zoom call I'll ever give because I've been going super deep lately on the mindset of money. And how by starting here, not by starting with your wallet, not by thinking about dollars or funnels or products or businesses, but by purely thinking about what's going on in here, you can go ahead and start to create that generational wealth. How many people at least know what I'm talking about as far as a concept? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Jasek does a measuring, Jeff. Thumbs down if you have no idea what I'm talking about. You're like, Brian, money's in the bank or it's not. Okay. All right. Some Elvira's like, what are you talking about, Brian? Okay, good. And look, I have had a very strange relationship with money my whole life. I'm going to show you a little bit of my journey tonight. But I'm going to teach you lessons that I've learned in a variety of places. I took lessons in finance at the MIT Sloan School of Management. I worked on Wall Street for many years. I worked here in the city of London in the derivatives industry at the highest levels of international finance. But then my real education started. Has anyone ever heard that quote by Mark Twain? I never let my school get in the way of my education. Anyone ever heard that quote, right? This is the truth, and we're going to talk about that tonight because school doesn't teach you about money. Even where I went, one of the top business schools in the world didn't really teach me about money. I had to learn on the ground by successful people really how to understand how to generate wealth. And I'm talking about people who have created trillions of dollars of net worth, people who own billions of dollars of assets, and people who spend millions of dollars on a whim as they please every day if they like. And I'm going to feature videos of those people tonight with lessons that I'd like you to get into your head. If you really pay attention to me for the next 30 or 40 minutes, I believe this will make a shift in your own wealth. That could be manifested quickly in a matter of weeks or months or years. But if you pay attention, I believe you can make a shift and start bringing more wealth into your life. All right. But you got to have your camera on or it doesn't work. Okay. The quantum field won't touch you if your camera's not on, right? All right. Does that sound good? Does that sound why you're here? You want to go on this journey? And I try to bridge the metaphysical with the actual. All right. Because I love dollars and cents. I run a business. Like I said, I work in finance, but I also know there's more to it than just the numbers. There's a mindset. And if you're not acting a certain way with a certain energy and a certain belief, you're never going to find money. You're never going to get rich. Let me see a show of hands. Raise your hand if you're struggling to generate wealth, you know, struggling to finally get somewhere. Maybe it's paycheck to paycheck, or maybe you make a little money, but you can't turn it into something significant. Just hands up. All right. So everybody else is rolling in it. You're all billionaires. If your hands aren't up. Okay. I just want to get an idea. All right. And let me just say one more thing. I used to work in the city of London and made millions of pounds a year, but I was still living paycheck to paycheck. I was not building wealth. I was relying on someone else to pay me every year. Now the amounts were higher than I had made before, but still, you know, I was working for money. I wasn't making money work for me. Does that make sense here? Yeah. Does anybody here have the same problem? You might be doing well, but at the end of the day, somebody else is giving you that money. You are not creating it yourself. And that's a real issue. So I'm going to jump in here. Thank you. Just want to give a big shout out to my co-pilot here, Martini Sovereign, our director of operations. So give her a big warm round of applause. A lot of you know her because she's intimately involved in all tiers of our Wealth Academy. We've got all sorts of different levels, from our crypto product to our Kings of DeFi to our very exclusive investment club. We've actually just deployed $500,000 worth of capital this week to 2 very exciting blockchain startups inside our investment club. We're doing lots of things behind the scenes here when it comes to money and generating wealth. And if you ever want to know more about it, she's the one that pretty much is the gatekeeper for all those programs. So anyways, we'll get you her contact info later. But right now I want to talk about the mindset of money. So I'm going to share this presentation that's hot off the presses. I've got some fresh new video content I haven't shown before tonight. And away we go. Let's get stuck in. Like I said, cameras on and let's rock and roll. All right, can everybody see this? Just thumbs up if you see me. I'm smiling here. And this is how to make money and build generational wealth. It's your chance to master 3 mindsets of the rich. All right. Now I'm going to go hard and please pay attention. Also have an open mind because some of these concepts you might not have heard about before when it comes to generating money. I'm talking about zooming out and thinking about it from a holistic perspective about attracting money in your life. And it's more than a funnel. It's more than buying a cryptocurrency. It's more than learning how to do a digital product. Wealth is bigger than that. And unless you're aligned, even spiritually, you're not going to find it. And I'm going to show you why. So this is what I want to talk about tonight. 3 steps. The first one is you need to recognize the trap. You need to admit that you live in a very strange matrix when it comes to what you've been taught about money. And you need to plan your escape now, or you will live your whole life not ever realizing the real truth about money and wealth. So that's step 1. Step 2 is the mindset of money, how to start attracting money and wealth opportunities to come into your life. And again, this is not by force. You cannot force these things to happen. It has to be through flow and not force. This is something that took me a long time to understand and a long time to start to master. I'm still working on it, and I'm going to show you how. The third one is poor people work for money and rich people make money work for them. I'm going to show you how to 10x your income. I'm going to show you what assets you want to own and what assets you want to avoid at all costs. That's tonight. Is everybody ready to go on this adventure with me? Thumbs up if you're with me. Okay, I got some people here. Mazarine's got her notes out. All right, you got my attention. All right, Maria Paula is there with me, Brian Pollard, Bruce Porter, and Inga too. All right, and Christopher Smith, you're looking good. All right, cameras on, let's rock and roll. So, whoa. First of all, like I said, I never let my school interfere with my education, and I've been blessed to have some of the greatest financial minds on my show in the world. Does anybody know this gentleman right here? Thumbs up if you know who this is. This is Grant Cardone, right? This is 10X himself, Mr. 10X himself, right? This man has multiple billions of dollars in real estate assets. He's got a massive private jet. He's got private helicopters. He's got residences. He just bought a $30 million place in Malibu. I'm a huge fan of Grant and Elena Cardone. If you're not a fan of Grant, you just don't understand him very well. I've spent hours and hours and hours with him in the leather chair, on camera, off camera, and I got to know the man himself. And he's a lot more than spitting money out of a money gun and standing on top of his jet. He's a deeply spiritual man that understands wealth at a very, very high level. And I want to share with you some of the lessons that he taught me. Next, I've been pleasurable enough to spend time with this man. Who knows who this guy is? Thumbs up if you know this guy. Oh, yeah. It's the one and the only Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the #1 selling personal finance book of all time. I highly recommend you go read it even tomorrow. It's incredible. It embodies everything I'm going to talk about tonight. It's a completely different way of looking at money and wealth generation that, by the way, is not taught in our schools. The opposite is taught in our schools. And that means that's what you were taught, the opposite of what Richard teaches us. And Robert teaches us. And I'll go on and explain this a little bit later. Next, we have this man. Anybody know him? This is Jim Rickards, former advisor to the CIA, worked at a place called Long-Term Capital Management for some of the biggest hedge funds in the world, wrote many, many books, including one called The Death of Money, and is the advisor to many, many people around the world. He is one of the smartest guys I've ever met when it comes to money. We share a lot of experience and knew a lot of people back in the derivatives world on Wall Street. And I've spent a lot of time with Jim on camera, off camera, and he really understands wealth. And he's taught me a lot of things that I'm going to teach you tonight. And of course, lastly, does anybody know this person? Hands up if you know this guy. This is, of course, the $1 trillion man, Dan Pena. Dan has created at least 1 trillion, possibly closer to $2 trillion of wealth for his students, not even for himself. And he's taught me a lot about money. I both equally love and hate Dan Pena at the same time. It's pretty fascinating how that works. And this is me at his castle in Scotland, of me accepting the award to go on his Hall of Fame. And now my picture is on his wall with guys that have generated billions and tens of billions of dollars. And it's an honor to be on that wall. And I'm going to teach you a little bit tonight about what I've learned from these people and from a lot of other people here on London Real. Sound good? Okay, good. All right. Now, look, I didn't start off wearing suits and knowing a lot about derivatives and money and talking to the smartest people in the world. I actually grew up in a household that wasn't that educated about money. And that's why I want to explain tonight that the primary difference, and I think you all need to understand this. If there's one takeaway tonight, let it be this one line, write it down if you can, type it into your phone, maybe email it to yourself in a subject line, and maybe meditate on this later. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is not the jet. It's not the Harvard degree. It's not the MIT degree from the Sloan School of Management. It's not the money. It's purely how they manage fear. I know that's going to be probably the first time you've ever heard that. Raise your hand if that's the first time you've ever heard that concept. Which a rich person versus how they manage fear. Also, at the same time, put your hand up if you think this is probably true. Put your hands up if you think there's something valid about this. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that, so I was like, nah, that can't be right. And then I was like, maybe that is right. And I'm going to talk about this because we were brought up in this world, maybe in the Matrix, to avoid failure, to avoid risk because we fear those things. And we were taught to avoid those things. And guess what? Without embracing those things, you will never create wealth. Do you think Grant Cardone is fearful about what he does? No. Do you think Kiyosaki is? Do you think Pena is? Do you think Rickards is? They know how to manage fear. They take massive risks on a regular basis, and that's why they're so successful. And if you don't take risks on a regular basis, that is why you are still poor. It really comes down to being that simple. There's a few nuances, and I'll talk about them tonight. So like I said, I didn't grow up in a household that knew a lot about money. This was me. 50 years ago, I know, Martini's never seen this image. Thought I'd pull this one out for you. And yes, apparently I'm Santa Claus, which is, I guess, the way people treat me these days, always looking for me to bring all this stuff. But yeah, this is me next to my brother, Eric. I guess I'm about 1 year old here. And apparently my mom thought it was fun to dress me up as Santa. So I grew up in San Diego, California, in a household full of two hardworking adults. They were from Phoenix, Arizona. My mom was a school teacher and my dad was an electrical engineer. And their parents were both farmers and cattle ranchers. That was it. They came from the fields and they lived off the land. So that was my upbringing. I didn't really know or wasn't taught much about money. I got my teaching from my school and everything around me. And this is the 70s. So there's no internet, there's no YouTube, there's nobody like me to beam into my household to try to give me some lessons. There's no Kiyosaki, there's no nothing. I couldn't find that information back then. So this is the way I started, maybe much like you, with just kind of this place where money wasn't something that was talked about ever. Of course, I continued, and this is me in high school. I think I'm 17 years old here, and I'm very proud of myself. Can everyone see how proud of myself I am here? Because I had just worked multiple summer jobs until I saved up $1,200. I still remember it, to buy my first Ford Mustang. This is a 1968 Ford Mustang with a 302 V8 engine and an automatic transmission. Thank you very much. And I bought it in a magazine called The Auto Trader. And I used to go out and people would sell you their used cars. And I was very good. Somebody put a thumbs up here. Is that JB? JB, you know what I'm talking about, right? And, you know, I worked and saved to buy this car. And then I worked on that car. And this is the way I started learning about money, is that you work hard, you save money, and that's what you're supposed to do, right? Save money, put some money in a 401k, and then maybe have some left over to retire. How many people were taught these basic things, right? Save money, put it in a 401k, and then let somebody on Wall Street put it in a mutual fund where I hope they don't steal all my money, maybe 8% a year in fees that I don't know about, into stocks that are manipulated on the public markets, that are denominated in dollars that my government can print as much as they want whenever they want, to where when I'm 65 at the very end, I might have something that allows me to survive for what looks like now another 30 or 40 years. Raise your hand if anybody sees a single flaw in that plan for the future that was taught to me. Yeah, not to mention about 10 flaws. This is how we were all brought up. Oh, by the way, Social Security will take care of you. That check for $84 a week is going to take care of you as well, right? So this is the world I was brought into. I didn't know any better. Now, I did have one thing going for me, is that I had two very great grandparents. And this is on the left, my grandpa Benedict. And you can see this is me on his ranch. He was a cattle rancher. And you can see he's got one of those bolo ties. I actually owned that, you know, after he passed away. And that's his ranch. It's called the Bardee Ranch. It's actually his bolo tie. It's made in turquoise. And he taught me how to trade horses. He taught me how to, you know, kick some butt. And he taught me that at the end of the day, it's up to you to make that money because no one's going to give you a paycheck on a ranch. You got to make the money. The same on the right is my grandpa Rose and my grandma Rose. This is me at my graduation at MIT, and they clean up real nice. But out on the farm, my grandpa's waking up at 4 in the morning and he takes me out and we're digging up potatoes when the sun rises. And that's what we did. When I used to visit him, we'd get up at 4 in the morning, go dig up potatoes. And then we put them back in the ground. I was like, Grandpa, what are we doing? He'd be like, you dig them up, count how many potatoes there was, stick them back in the ground, and we go to the next field and the next field. And this is how I learned. But I got a good upbringing from people who really were entrepreneurs at the end of the day, and they were hardworking folks. And so this was my education with money. Sound good, everybody? This is my education. The rest I got from the people I'm going to introduce to you today, and I think this is where I got the great knowledge was after that. And so I want to talk about this first part, and that is this. You've got to recognize that you were brought up in a system that didn't give you the truth about money. By the way, put 2 hands up if you think that's possibly true, that maybe you were brought up in a system that didn't tell you what you needed to know, that told you maybe what was beneficial for the system. You can call whatever you want, the matrix, the system, the postage stamp mentality is what my friend David Icke says, whatever. But you got to admit that something's wrong here. And I think it was Terence McKenna that once said, I don't know who discovered water, but it certainly wasn't a fish. We're all fish and we were brought up in this water. And so sometimes it's very hard to recognize all of the kind of lies and untruths and stuff that's been brainwashed us because we grew up in that. Does that concept make sense to everybody? Right? We grew up with these fancy dollar bills, and in England, we got the Queen down the road, and we pay homage to her, but we're not really sure why, because she doesn't pay taxes, and she seems to take all of our money. And there's all these weird things. You look up to bankers, but if you really look at it, they take all of our money and pay themselves these massive bonuses. Why? And so, again, admit that we were probably brought up in a system that's got us a little bit brainwashed. If that's true, you can try to take a look outside of it. And so I want to say, you got to recognize the money trap that we live in. We're not taught about money. We don't understand it. And the assumptions we make about it are wrong, right? I want to get a lot of dollars and stick it in a savings account. That's the worst thing you can do, and I'll explain why. Admit you grew up in a system that's flawed, and admit that you've got to challenge yourself on a daily basis to snap yourself out of going along with the brainwashed masses and doing what they tell you to do, and plan your escape now. That's the first part. And bear with me here. I want to give you a little bit of knowledge from someone that understands this on a very fundamental level, and that's Mr. Kiyosaki. And this is a picture of me within my studio a few years ago. And Robert says something that upsets a lot of people. He says, poor people work for money and rich people make money work for them. It's a bold statement. How many people understand that statement, by the way? How many people here have ever received a paycheck from an employer for a month or maybe a half a year or a year or multiple years? Anybody here? Come on, I'm sure you had them. Right? We're first taught, you get that job out of school, right? You get that paycheck. What is a paycheck? A paycheck is a drug addiction, because every 2 weeks or every month, you're waiting for that little bit of a crumb to be given to you by someone. And you'll do anything for it just to keep it coming, right? It's like a drug addiction. And again, you're always waiting for someone else to give you this thing, and you get so dependent on it that you don't even understand how to create wealth. You're always waiting for someone to give you a job or pay you your check, or even worse, give me my subsidy check, right? Or coming up in the future when AI takes half of our jobs, our universal basic income. This is the most disempowering thing you could do to a human being. You don't show them how to create wealth. You say, you can depend on me for wealth, and I'll give you a little tiny bit every month that you can't survive on, so you have to keep coming back for more. Yeah? Sounds like a drug dealer to me. Is everybody with me here, right? Rich people make money work for them, right? They invest in assets that pay cash flow, and they don't have to ask anyone's permission for money. This is an important thing to realize. And again, I was a banker making millions of pounds a year, and I was a poor person working for money because I didn't create that wealth. I didn't own the assets. I was working for a bank. And yeah, I drove around in the Lambos and I had my flashy places, but whenever the day I got sacked or I couldn't find another job, I was dead in the water because I didn't know how to make money work for me. Is that clear for everybody? Okay, so it's not just if you work at Starbucks or any other job. This is lawyers, this is bankers, this is everybody who is potentially in this situation, but there's a way out, and I want to show you. So I want to play this video from Robert Kiyosaki. I've been blessed to spend some time with Robert, and this is a fresh video I pulled out from the archive of Robert dropping some knowledge just about this. So hold on a second. Yes. Right, here's Robert. Pay attention.
Right now, for the middle class of the world, we're in a crash.
It's going to collapse. You should be very worried.
The rich don't work for money. Don't you touch that stuff.
They have money working for them.
Very big difference in mentality here. The game the bankers and the rich play is different than what they teach you in school. All over the world, what does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake.
You couldn't learn very much here.
We've been here before. Whereas schools don't teach us economic history. So what happens to the average person in a financial crash, they don't know what to do.
And so if someone's listening to us that's stuck in that poor middle class trap and they hear it's their fear that ultimately is keeping them from that, that's a hard thing to hear, Robert. But you're going to give them the information about what they can do if they can get out of that fear.
You don't know if something is an asset or a liability until you can say which way the cash flows. So a house, is it an asset or liability? Well, if it's taking money from your pocket, it's liability. And that's what the game is kind of hardwiring into your head. Humanity is evolving, and you have to ask yourself, what does God want done in the evolution of life? I don't think God wants people to be poor. I think God wants evolution. He wants everybody to enjoy wealth, not just the rich. So most of my thoughts on a daily basis is how can I serve more people, not how much money can I make. The more people I serve, the more effective I become.
All right, do we like Robert? Do we feel his energy? There's a lot of nuggets in there, and I want to just highlight the ones that I saw, because the first time you see this, it's very easy to miss some of those things. So the big takeaways there for this first part are the following. Robert is constantly talking about service. He's constantly saying it's not what you want to do, it's what God wants you to do. Now, again, when he says God, you can use whatever that means to you, a higher purpose, a vibration, a frequency, whatever. But his point is this, is that you're not going to create generational wealth if you are not doing something for the greater good or serving a higher purpose. Robert feels that way. Cardone feels that way. Rickard feels that way. And even Pena feels that way. Pena spent the last 30 years of his life actually making money for other people, not him. And so they're all on some type of a mission that allows them to serve on a high level. And when they do that at such a high level, they create wealth at a high level. Is that clear to everybody here? Just thumbs up if that makes sense. This is a very, very important point, okay? None of the greats that I've spoken to on my show or I see out there are doing it just to make an extra couple dollars that they can buy another car with. That's not what makes them great. If you're trying to do that, you're never really going to create real wealth. So that's the first thing. Robert's all about service. It's all about giving something bigger than himself and always thinking about what is that higher calling. Very important. Second one, obviously, school teaches you to be poor. Famously, Robert raised his hand when he was a school kid, I think 8 years old, and said, when are you going to teach us about money? And they're like, no. We don't talk about money. We don't teach money in school. And he's like, why? You're teaching me Spanish, and you're teaching me geography, and you're teaching me chemistry, but why are you teaching about money? And they're like, no, we don't do that here at school. School teaches you to be poor. They also teach you not to make any mistakes, right? Does anyone remember struggling with that in school for grades, right? Everything's got to be perfect. You have to copy everything perfect. You're not rewarded for being creative or taking risks whatsoever in school. Is this making sense to a few people here, right? All the rebels, a lot of them that are now billionaires, they flunked out of school. They got thrown out of school because they were always thinking, innovating, trying to break the rules, not try to follow the rules. School was created, thanks to us here in the Industrial Revolution in England, to train factory workers' children to do what? Anyone want to guess? Become factory workers. Yeah. Do I need a factory worker being an entrepreneur and trying to take me out of business? No. So they were taught the basics, and that system pervades the education system today, the same things. Lastly, something that Robert talks about, you are poor because you're scared of failure, period. That's why you're poor. We were, again, taught as young kids, and my kids are in school now. I worry now. I look at what I'm teaching them on the outside and worry what they're learning on the inside, and I'm trying to think, how do I make sense of it? Because if you are taught, as soon as you make a mistake or go outside the line or do something that's creative, as soon as you do that, you are told you're a bad student, you are scolded, you're sent to the principal's office, you're given bad grades. Because ultimately you're teaching those kids to be scared to fail. And that is what's making them poor. And that's what's making all of you poor. One of the biggest things Dan Pena taught me, and I don't cover it tonight, but it's something I've talked about in the past, is he told me I'm not taking enough risk. He's like, Brian, you need to engineer more risk in your life. When you do that, you'll be successful. And he always says, for any business, success is on the razor's edge of failure. If you look at any business out there, if they are not taking risks and innovating every single year, they're in danger of becoming bankrupt. Thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. This includes all the big ones: Amazon, Apple, Google, IBM, Tesla. If they're not innovating, putting it on the line every single year, their competition is going to swallow them up and spit them out. As soon as you get complacent, you're dead. And that's just the way business works. And that's the way wealth creation works. So that's the first part. Think about that, meditate on those concepts. And I want to jump into the second part. This is the mindset of money. So once you've admitted that you probably have been taught the wrong things and in some way brainwashed, and in some way live in a world that is full of lies about money that we just accept without even questioning them. This is, by the way, also true about our health. This is true about our politics. This is true about our media. It's all now being broken down and we're realizing that it's just not really true, right? Does anyone here trust their doctor to tell them what to do with their body? Probably not. Does anyone trust their mainstream media? Does anybody here trust their politicians? Well, then why would you trust your monetary system and assumption? You shouldn't. And so once you realize that, it's a start. The next thing is the mindset of money and how you start attracting it now. One thing that Grant likes to say is money is energy. And unless it flows, there is no value created. This is very important. Again, how many people here were taught to save money and stick it in a bank and hold it until you retire? Anybody here? Save money and stick it in a 401k plan, right? That's the opposite of what's true. If your money isn't flowing, it is useless. And so what you need to do is you need to kickstart your money affirmations. You need to start putting these ideas in your mind that wealth is coming to you. You need to remove those mental blockages. You need to create a vision board of your future, and you need to start understanding money for what it really is and how it really works. And so for this, I like to bring in another expert. And in this case, it's Grant Cardone. And this is a fresh video from Grant. And some of his expressions are fantastic. One of them, which is I love, which is poor people are selfish. Now, I thought Kiyosaki offended people with, poor people work for money. But poor people are selfish is what Grant says. And he says it in this next video I'm going to play for you. He says, because they're always thinking about themselves. I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor. So it's all about me being poor. It's all about you trying to fix me being poor. They live in a very low frequency of scarcity, of me. When there's all this knowledge in the world, there's all of these opportunities. And he says at the end of the day, they're selfish. And I think it's an interesting point to ponder. How many people maybe agree with that? Put your hands up. Would consider it possibly. Yeah, it's an interesting point. And so that's one thing. He also says money is useless until it is used. This is a very, very important point. It's a very similar point to what Robert Kiyosaki says. He invests in assets. Money is useless until it's being used. Just having dollars in a bank account is useless. Having those in income producing assets is a whole nother ballgame. And that's the way you need to start looking at financial instruments and what you do with your money. Again, the rich people make money work for them. When you own an asset, it cash flows. When you own a liability, it does the opposite. And again, Cardone is famous for saying, don't buy a house. Has anyone ever heard him say that? Don't buy a house. A lot of people say, well, why not? It's a great investment. Grant argues that buying your own house is not a good investment because most people's home is a money pit. Raise your hand if you've ever felt that way about your home, right? I'm going to redo the kitchen. And you tell yourself, I'll get 3x on resale value. That's right, right? I'm going to redo the boiler. I'm going to redo this. I'm going to redo that. You go to look at the end of the day. What did Robert say? You know if something's an asset or a liability, whether it cash flows or not. Most people's homes are liabilities. And so Cardone says, don't own your own home. Take that cash and invest in yourself. Invest in your business. Invest in something that will cash flow. By the way, investing in yourself is the greatest investment because you will cash flow more, even with a little bit of investment. So this is something to think about. So let me play this video from Grant. And again, I've been pretty much had the honor of sharing a couple episodes with Grant, probably 5 or 6. And I've had Elena on the show as well. She's amazing. Let's just see here. Yes. All right, here's Grant talking about money.
Number one, most important thing in my life is not my wife, not my kids, and not my business. It's me as a spiritual unit. The work is a gift from God. I don't want to hustle, I want to prosper. How much can you get done with time? That is what a business is. My life is about punching, kind of like life did to me. I've learned to punch back. My dad died when I was 10, so when you don't have a father, I think it changes things. For 10 years, I used drugs almost every day. Nobody starts using drugs thinking I'm gonna be a drug addict. I just threw my addiction into work. You're gonna burn out, dude. At this pace, you're gonna burn out. I've heard this 1,000 times. I'm not burnt out. Poor people are extremely selfish people. You're thinking about yourself all the time. I want money. I want a lot of money. I want to give money away. You can't do that if you're broke. You know, I want to love my wife and I want to love the planet. I want to scale my love. Best investment you'll ever make is in yourself. You can't lose that investment.
Like Grant, not what you expected, maybe, right? Thumbs up, not what you expected, maybe, right? You know. Some big takeaways there for me. First of all, he talks in the very beginning, the first thing he talks about in both of my interviews with him in the studio here is I'm a spiritual being. I'm on a whole nother level. I'm having a human experience. He sounds like some other guest of mine. Sounds like Bruce Lipton, right? Or Joe Dispenza. But this is Cardone. So again, just like Kiyosaki, and you'll see just like the other guest, they're looking at this from a whole nother higher perspective. This is a bigger picture for them. This is about all humanity. This is about doing something massive and big for them. That's how they create this generational wealth. Grant's not thinking I'm going to take a property and flip it and have enough to buy an extra jet. That's not what he's thinking about. That's a really important point. The next thing he's talking about is investing in yourself, one of the best investments you can make out there. And I just want to jump back to the takeaways from this. And again, this isn't just from this piece, but every time I've spoken to Grant, these are my takeaways from what he said. First of all, you must have a spiritual connection to your pursuit of wealth. How many people here agree with that, by the way? You must have a spiritual connection with your pursuit of wealth. All the greats have it. All the greats have it. Now, you might say they're delusional, but it doesn't matter. What's that expression that people say? You're the villain in someone else's story. Like, you know, you might think Bezos is a megalomaniac, but he thinks he's doing something to change the world, as does Buffett, as does all of these people, as does Zuckerberg. You might disagree, but they're doing it for something higher, and that's why they're so successful. All of my great guests have that in them, and that's something to think about. If you're not connected on that plane with your work, how would you ever expect to bring wealth into your life? It's got to be bigger than you at the end of the day, which is, again, surprising for most people. They most think that, oh, all these people are just egomaniacs and want to stuff all the money in the bank. They literally have a higher purpose. Next thing, poor people are selfish. It's funny, Grant said to me one time, he said, you know how hard it is being poor? It's hard, man. It's harder to be poor than it is to be rich. Think about it. You're always stressed about money. You're always trying to find that money to make the paycheck. You're always going couch to couch. You're stressing over this. It's hard. It's hard. You got to talk about it all the time. It's on your mind all the time. It becomes your identity. It's exhausting, right? Why would you do that? You don't have to do that. So get out of that frame. You don't have to be there. It's a very low frequency. It's actually quite a very egotistic frame, is that poor frame. But you can flash yourself out of it, but you got to start thinking bigger and start thinking different. And of course, the best investment you can make in is yourself. Talk about a cash flow asset. That's you. You can be massively cash flowed very quickly, quicker than any business, any real estate, any cryptocurrency is you. You can literally start changing these and see results in weeks and in months in yourself, massive results. And over years, you can turn those into millions and billions and trillions. I know them. They've done it, and they've done it with many, many people. Penya's done it with lots of people. And it all starts with your brain. That's why this is really important. This whole concept for me, this Wealth Academy, because you are stopping yourself from doing it with your thoughts and what you're thinking about subconsciously, maybe more so than consciously. All the assumptions you've made about money, you don't even know you're making because you're a fish in water. All you know is this water. You were born into this water. You're born into this system. All of your assumptions and thoughts about money are basically wrong. And until you can step outside of it and start making those changes, you're just going to go down this world of mediocrity. You'll make ends meet. You'll make a little money to where you can have a little bit of this and that, but you'll never be able to break through. You'll never have that peace of mind, that ease. You'll never be able to do great things without having your money right and having that wealth. How many people here agree with that statement, by the way? It's really true. I had the woman who made the movie The Secret on my show, and she just said, Brian, she's like, it's so much easier to be wealthy and rich. She's like, I don't have to worry about these problems. I can do so much more with my life. She said, you know, wealth and happiness are so interlinked. She's like, money doesn't make you happy, but by owning your wealth and solving your wealth problems, it puts you in a tremendous place to be happy. You cannot be happy when you're constantly stressed about money. How many people know that feeling? By the way, when I was in my 20s, American Express had a hitman looking for me. You know, I was in bad shape. I could not manage my money. They would call my dad up at home and like harass him, even though I wasn't living at home. And he'd be like, would you stop these people from American Express calling? I'm like, I don't know, Dad, I can't stop them. I'm not calling them right now. I was a mess until I was in my early 30s when it came to money. I couldn't, I was spending more money than ever, you know? And so this is a real issue, but you can get out of it, but you've got to start changing your mind. And so let's talk about this. This is the final part. And this is about what we need to do to really start 10xing our income and get our money into these assets that are going to change the game and start attracting money in our life. So again, I call this poor people work for money, rich people make money work for them, how to 10x your income. And again, I want to highlight a paycheck is a drug habit and it's a death sentence. The Kiyosakis, both Kim and Robert, and by the way, Kim is incredible. Her episode on London Real has 250,000 views. I mean, she's a sage. And she says it as well. It's a death sentence. You want to invest in assets that create cash flow and give you generational wealth. That could be your own business. That could be you. That could be assets like real estate, gold, commodities, some crypto, etc. But make sure you're doing it in an intelligent way. And the lessons here are simple. Be creative, not competitive. Remember, school taught you to compete with others for a tiny little margin of a grade, right? I got a 91 on the test. You got a 90. I got an A. You got a B+. Does that help create new businesses? Does that create innovations? There's a famous entrepreneur named Peter Thiel. Has anyone heard of Peter Thiel? He turned $500,000 in a Facebook investment in 2004 into $1 billion by 2012. He's got a book called 0 to 1, which is fantastic. And he has a phrase. He says, competition is for losers. Think about it. It's very creative, right? It's a bit of a pun. Competition's for losers. And he's right. All the great businesses in the world don't compete. They're monopolies. They've said, oh, you guys are competing over here? We're going to go over here where we don't have to compete and we're going to own this sector. Look at Google. Do they compete in search? No. Look at Amazon. Do they compete in fulfillment? No. Look at Apple. Do they compete on high-end digital devices? No. Why would you want to compete? Be creative. Create a brand. I don't compete with anybody. I do things so uniquely my way. I don't compete with anybody. Nobody doing what we do here. Yeah. Sometimes they're happy they're not doing what we're doing. But nobody's doing what we're doing. Nobody's having this content on the show and also have a London Real Ventures entity, which is investing in the hottest blockchain, AI, metaverse startups, teaching crypto, teaching people how to become influencers and fund managers. Nobody's doing that. And that's fine. They don't want to do that. We'll do this over here. So that's what you want to think about. Be creative, not competitive. How you can 10x those business revenues by thinking outside the box as well and invest in those income producing assets. And for this one, I thought I'd bring in my good friend, Jim Rickards. Again, one of the smartest people I've ever met in the world when it comes to money. And Richard put it simply here. He said, if you put your money in the bank, it's not your money anymore. It's powerful, powerful. As soon as you put it in the bank, it's not your money anymore. It's someone else's. They do funny things with it. They inflate it. They might seize it. If you were in Canada during the trucking protest, guess what? They might take it away from you and you don't get it back. Anybody follow that story, right? Happens all the time. Putting your money in a bank account is one of the stupidest things you can do. And Jim Rickards talks about how he invests money. And I want to share with you, I asked him point blank where he puts his money and he told me. Again, I got the best seat in the house. Not many places could you ask this from a proper expert like him and and really learn what he says. This is what Jim said when I asked him point blank.
Let me ask you a question. Where does James Rickards put his money?
I put my money where I tell people to put their money. Same thing. So my portfolio is an allocation to physical gold and silver. I have fine art. Actually, fine art has been my best performing asset class over the last 6 or 7 years.
Do you have a fund, or do you actually own pieces?
I invest in a fund.
Okay.
So look, if you're if you're Stevie Cohen, you can go out and pay $100 million for a Picasso. Most people are not in that category. But this is museum quality art. I'm not talking about the posters you put on your college dorm room. I mean, it is high quality art. This particular fund I invest in, but there are a number of funds out there. So gold, silver, fine art, land. I have a lot of cash, and people are surprised to hear me say that. Like, wait a second, Jim. You're the guy talking about the death of money and locking down the banking system. Why do you have cash? And my answer is, I have it for now. I might not have it for long, but I like it for now because first of all, it reduces volatility. It's a very good deflation hedge, and deflation is in play. But the third reason is, when you have cash, it has huge embedded optionalities. We were talking about options earlier. Yeah. So if I said, Brian, what would you pay me for an at-the-money call option on every asset in the world? You say, well, it must be valuable. Well, that's what cash is. You're the guy who can wake up and go buy anything in the world. You don't have to get out of anything. You don't have to cross a bid offer. You don't have to take a mark-to-market loss. You don't have to pay a commission. You don't have to deal with illiquid assets. You are liquid. By the way, the guy with the most cash he's ever had is Warren Buffett. He's got over $30 billion of cash. Buffett is a master at waiting for things to fall down and then going in and going shopping, at discount prices. So I like cash for that reason. But you have to be nimble. This is not a set it and forget it portfolio, because the time may come when I want to take the cash and move in one direction or another. The other part of my portfolio, I invest in startup companies, tech companies. These are, in many cases, very small businesses, 4 or 5 employees, but an entrepreneur, someone I have confidence in, putting a good team together. So I like those kinds of companies because that gives me the equity upside without, there's risk, you can lose all your money. That's the way these deals go. But it gives me a lot of equity upside without being in the public markets, which I view as manipulated and very prone to crashing.
Right, and yeah, like you said, manipulated by high frequency trades.
So gold, silver, land, cash, fine art, private equity, venture, tech.
There it is. Pretty interesting, huh? Straight from the horse's mouth there. And again, he stays away from publicly traded stocks because he doesn't buy, he doesn't believe it, any of the wrap. Anything Wall Street wants to sell you, you should stay away from. That's just at the end of the day. All of their 401k plans and mutual funds are riddled with fees that take tons of your money out every year. The only reason he keeps cash around is so he can buy cash flowing assets on the cheap, just like Warren Buffett does. So very interesting. Commodities, the art, which cash flows or appreciates. And then, like you said, when he does invest in companies, they're in ones that he can control, startup businesses that can scale. So I think there's a fascinating look into what those assets are for a guy like that. And guess what? This is true across the board when it comes to all of my guests on London Real. And so let me just go back to just these takeaways from him. The takeaways are: invest in real assets. Cash is good for optionality, but not for a store of value. He knows that. Kiyosaki knows that. Pena knows that. And as does Cardone. Cardone says cash is trash. He hates it. Cardone goes broke every quarter. Every quarter, he dumps any liquid cash he has into real estate. And that way, he's like, I can't touch it for 10 years. He likes illiquid cash flowing assets because it forces him to save and then go make more money. Grant always says to me, he's like, Brian, why do you think I'm doing these damn webinars? He's like, because I got no money left. I'm broke. I go broke every quarter. That's what he does. Interesting, huh? Right? Not as crazy as it sounds. So again, very important, and stay away from publicly traded stocks and anything Wall Street wants to sell you. Inside our investment club, Martini knows, I teach all of our crypto students and our other students that when you buy a cryptocurrency on a public market, all the juice is out of that thing. You could have bought that thing 2 years earlier at usually pennies on the dollar. By the time it goes public, Wall Street and all the early investors, all the Peter Thiels, all the venture cap people have already taken all of their juice out of that trade. And guess what you're being used for? You're being used so they can take their profit. Make sense to everybody, right? Classic example, Peter Thiel, when he bought Facebook in 2004, put $500,000 in. Facebook did a big IPO in 2012. sold all that out. Peter made $1 billion. And guess what happened to the stock? It went down for a year, right? Of course. So Peter Thiel makes 2,300x on his investment. Yeah. So $10,000 if you had invested would make you $23 million. This is how rich get richer. Of course, you wouldn't be allowed to invest in that because that's only allowed for private equity or accredited investors. Anyone ever heard that term, accredited investor, right? Do you start to see the matrix now, right? Poor people who need the money aren't allowed to invest in the deals, only rich people who get richer. Do you start to see what's going on here? Okay, so this is what's happening. And yet you don't even know, oh, accredited investor. Oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. And so that's what happened. And then when they dump it to the public markets, whenever you have a chance to buy something as a retail investor, you are being used for someone else to take profit. You're the sucker. Has anyone heard the expression, if you're at a poker table and you look around the table and you can't tell who the sucker is? Do you know who the sucker is? It's you. You. All right. So if you can't tell who the sucker is, it's you. It's just like with Facebook, right? If if you're not the, what do they say? If you're not the customer, you're the product. Yeah, think about it. That's what you are with Facebook. So these are all things I've learned from the greatest minds when it comes to wealth. And this is what I'm looking at now, because I'm trying to compile and seeing if I can get people out of this rut that they're in, because it's not just you, it was me for most of my life. And I should have known better. I was trained in the best schools in the world. I worked on Wall Street. I had some of the best mentors. And yet, even up to my early 30s, I was broken in debt and I couldn't find a way out of this mess. And it really wasn't until I started getting into London Real that I really learned my wealth lesson on how to just generate and attract wealth in a generational type standpoint. Wall Street taught me how to make money, but not really to generate wealth. And so before I ever go to do something, I always think about Sun Tzu, The Art of War, famous Chinese general who said every battle is won before it's ever fought. And the concept there is that when you go into battle, you already know how to win. You already know who's going to win. How many believe that that is true? Every battle is won before it's ever fought. How many people believe that? As in, the preparation you do now determines what's going to happen. So I'm telling you now, you need to prepare. You're not going to win the lottery and get lucky. If you do, you're going to lose all that money a year from now, right? Has everyone ever seen the statistics on people that win the lottery? A year later, they're broke. Why? Because they did not understand money. So you need to prepare yourself mentally in order to attract with this wealth to you. And if you do that, you will be successful by definition. Some of you will get it quicker than others, but you will be successful. I've seen this work. It's worked with me and it's worked with all of my guests and a variety of my students. And so in order to be successful, you need three things. You need education, as in a roadmap of what to do. You need mentorship, and you need a community of people that are doing it with you that will hold you accountable. I know this because Martini and I have been teaching this in the London Real Academy for over 8 years now. We've done this with virtual communities around the world. We've graduated over 5,000 students in all sorts of different types of disciplines, from building businesses to building podcasts, to learning how to publicly speak, to learning how to improve their lifestyle, to make lots of money from crypto, from finance, and from early stage investments. This is what you need. And so that's why I created the Wealth Academy. This is something I've never done before. I've never actually taught the concepts of wealth. I've taught how to start a business. I taught about how to start a podcast, and those are all great. Those will help you attract wealth. But if you don't understand these fundamentals, if you don't unblock your mind and re-engage it and attract wealth, and having a money mindset and money affirmations and understanding all these details and back it up with the right instruments, 10xing your income, you have no chance to generate wealth. I don't care if you buy the right crypto token or if you happen to be Mark Zuckerberg's roommate in college. That guy actually went broke because he didn't know these lessons. And so that's why I decided to create the Wealth Academy. I will tell you a little bit about it. It's 6 simple steps. They're simple, but they're not easy. And this is what we do. This is me teaching. Like, again, we graduated, I think we're 5,000 students in over 120 countries around the world. We're really good at creating virtual connection, communities, accountability, and we get people to do the things they don't want to do in order to be successful. And dare I say, we're very good at it, right, Martini? We're very good at it. Nobody does this like us. I teach these all live because it's a crucial component. You cannot buy a class from us that you do at your own pace, because that's a bunch of BS. You will not do it at your own pace. And I don't want to sell you a product that's not going to do something for you. So we're here and I'm there and I always show up. And I'm there to drag you across the goal line and to push you because I know you can do it and you're worth it. Isn't your family worth it? Aren't you worth it? Isn't the future you worth it? Aren't your grandchildren worth it? You know, I was built on my grandparents doing their hard work. You know, my grandmother in that picture from before, she told me a story one time. She drove me around Phoenix, Arizona one time when I visited her. My grandpa had passed away. And we drove by a cotton field that it looked like it had been around for 50, 60 years. And she said, "You see that field?" I was like, "Yeah, Grandma." And I had been complaining it was too hot in Phoenix and the air condition wasn't on. That was me complaining, right? City boy. She said, "You see that field?" I said, "Yeah, Grandma." She said, "Your grandpa spent 2 years in that field." And I was like, "Wow." She said he dug out stumps for 2 years. He didn't plant any seeds. He dug stumps out of the ground for 2 years, getting that thing ready because it was a mess. And I was like, damn. And I just zipped it for the rest of the day. You couldn't hear me complain. That's hard work, right? But again, he's investing in a cash flowing asset. So, you know, I know what it's like to be built on people that did the hard work. And I think you deserve it and your family deserves it and your future deserves it. So this is my Wealth Academy. We do a weekly 1-hour call, always live with me. It's no hold barred. It's anything goes. You can ask me anything about anybody and any struggle that you're having. It's 6 incredibly detailed modules with the strategies and the tools to support you to 10x your income, slash your expenses, and master investing and start generating and attracting wealth, period. I have a triple tiered, no excuses accountability system. I got 24/7 support from my team. We're on you all the time, like white on rice, all right? You get access to a thriving community of London realtors worldwide, people in all sorts of country seats from different disciplines, but they're all London realtors. And they're all going to make you commit and become the version of yourself you want to be. This is a snapshot of one of our graduation ceremonies. So people flew in from all over the world. 5 continents people came in just to be part of celebrating all the work they had done. It's incredible the communities we build. You'll be better friends in here with these communities than anybody in your life. It's true. Martini's smiling. It's true. Because all of your friends and family, first of all, how many of your friends and family are high performance people? That's my question. If you take your phone right now, everybody pull out your phone right now. Let me ask you a question. Pull out your phone as an exercise and look at your text messages. Will you do this? Look at your text. I'm going to do it on mine right now. Look at your text messages. Look at your last 10 text messages. Look at the people they're from. Mom, maybe that next door neighbor, maybe that ex. Okay. How many of those people are high performance people? How many of those people are building $10 million businesses? How many people are doing TED Talks? How many people are out there pushing the envelope? How many people are doing incredible, noteworthy things of those 10 that you see in the top? How many? Honestly, put a finger up. 1, 2, any of them? Do any of these people really want success in their life? So why would they want it from you? Talk about the matrix. Your friends and family don't want you to be successful. They get uncomfortable when you start talking about these crazy ideas, when you spend money online and invest in yourself and you start doing all these things, because they're like, oh my gosh, wait a second. Mazarine, she's going to get rich and she's not going to want to hang out with it anymore. Christopher, he's going to meet real friends that take him to the next level. I better encourage him not to do that. No, take it easy. Don't spend money online. You don't know these people. Who knows what I'm talking about, right? Our friends and family, they love us, but usually they're not actually trying to push us to the next level. That's what we do in our academy. So think about that. Think about who you learn from and who your peer group is. Most of them are not high performance people and they're not pushing you to the next level. So this is why I created the Wealth Academy syllabus. It's 6 modules and it's pretty simple. The first is recognize the trap, admit you live in it, and plan your escape. Really understand everything you've been taught about money and finance is wrong. Once you assume that, you can take a step out and start looking at what's wrong with it, okay? It's like perturbing the matrix. Anybody see that movie, right? Or during COVID, we saw it, right? We saw, wait a second, our financial system looks a little funny. They're printing a lot of money. Wait a second, maybe our doctors don't know what they're talking about. Maybe our media is not telling us the truth. Interesting. So until you recognize that, I can't help you. Second thing is, how can you start attracting money with the right mindset? So all those assumptions. I played a video 2 days ago where Robert Kiyosaki said, a poor person says, I can't afford that. How many people have ever said to themselves, I can't afford that? Come on, we've all done it. Lambo, apartment, $10 million home, a jet like Cardone, I can't afford that. A statement like that closes the mind. Robert Kiyosaki says, instead, you need to say this, how can I afford that? How can I afford that? Cardone says, how can I afford a $50 million jet? Well, let me see. I have to have $2 billion in real estate and I need to use that jet to find new real estate to get it to my investors. Okay, then I'm going to do that. And he did it, right? A question opens the mind. A statement closes the mind. How many subconscious thoughts are you banging in your mind on a daily basis? Like, I can't afford that. I can't do that. That won't work. How many people think they're doing that on a regular basis? You are. You need to switch that and catch it. And at every single moment, be like, no, how can I afford it? Why can't I do that? How could I do that? Boom, 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 boom. So that's module 2, getting you into the mindset of money. Third is poor people work for money and rich people make money work for them. We're going to talk about how to 10x your income, how to start with getting passive income strategies, how to start that side hustle, how to start that business. And even for the short term, how to get that raise. How can you get more revenue flowing towards you so we can fix that? Number 4, and I thought long and hard about this module and I realized it was important. You've got to slash your expenses. Most people in their businesses and their personal life are overspending and they're spending way too much money. Put your hands up if you think that might be you. Come on. We're living these ridiculous lifestyles. Cardone has a great message. I got this fancy watch that is in my drawer and I always put it on for my episodes, right? This used to be a big deal when I worked in the city. I had to flash my Hublot watch to all the people around me, right? It's a really insecure thing to do, actually. See, it's got this really cool winding mechanism in the back, right? Apparently that's really expensive and famous. Anyways, Grant always says, never buy one of these. Either buy 2 of them or don't buy any of them. His point is this: if you don't have so much cash flow that you can buy 2 of these things and it doesn't mean anything to you, don't buy one. Because you should be spending any kind of excess income like this on 2 things: investing in yourself or on income generating assets, period. How much of us spend stupid money on keeping up with the Joneses and buying this because it's not necessary? And your business too. Slash those expenses, cut it all out, get focused on one thing: generating wealth and not spending it away frivolously. There's no point in that. And all that flashy expensing, I don't respect anybody. I don't respect anybody who rolls up in a Lambo. I just don't. Dan has Lamborghinis at his castle parked in the front. He doesn't know how to drive. He has no driver's license. He parks them there just because he's like the kids like him. I kind of respect that. But I'm telling you, if you want to show up with your Lambo and your watch and want to tell me you just got off a jet, I'm just looking at you like you're an idiot. Why don't you take that $1 million and put it into an income producing asset? Why don't you hire somebody that can change your business? Why don't you invest in yourself? Or better yet, why don't you donate it and build a school in Ghana like we did? Why don't you do something good with that money? Because I'm not impressed. Maybe some idiot is, but I'm not. So again, really think about how you're using your money. Module 5 is how to master investing. You're going to learn the language of finance. I'm going to go into detail about real estate, about commodities, about stocks, about bonds, about early stage investments, about crypto. I'm going to tell you what you need to know and what you need to avoid about all of those assets because it's important. And then module 6, it's all about taking action. It's really channeling that relationship with fear and really create your winning future now. Pull the trigger and start taking action and start creating. Stop competing and manage that relationship with fear. It's so important. One of the biggest things I learned. And of course, we got a bonus module, which is Secrets of the Wealthy, from like lots of guests we've had on London Real, all of their little tidbits on how they make money. It's incredible stuff. So that's the piece. I would just say, when you join a community like this, go in there thinking you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. How many people agree with that statement? You're the average of the 5 people. I think it's really, really true. So if you're not surrounding yourself with the best, how are you going to be the best? I'm lucky as the host of London Real. I get to hang out with Pena and Cardone and Kiyosaki and Rickards. I get to text them. They drop science on me. You should hear what they tell me off camera. It's crazy. So I'm really lucky. I created that. What can you do? You've got to get out of your current peer group or it's going to be very hard to be successful. So surround yourself with the best. I'm all about that in my personal life, in my family life, and in my students' lives. And that's why I recently took my daughter to Boston, because I knew if she tried to go to school somewhere in the UK, I just didn't think she was going to be surrounded by the best. So I really encouraged her to look at universities in the US. It was really hard. It was like pulling teeth. You have no idea. But I took her to Boston and we saw some schools, and she's now currently at BU. She is being smoked by the students there, and I love it, right? Because she was the smartest in high school. And now she's around really high performance people, and they're Americans, and they're already talking about their job in consulting and Wall Street. Of course, they're trying to work for money. She's also meeting people that are entrepreneurs and creators, and her mind is blown. I'm telling you, the last month has probably been more education for her than the last 10 years of school. And that's what we're talking about. So I'm so happy she's doing that. And when I went to MIT as well, I was thrown in a huge, huge, huge learning curve. In San Diego, I was a big fish in a little pond. At MIT, I was a tiny little stupid fish in a big pond full of the smartest kids in the world. I was not the smartest at MIT. I learned how to master the game of MIT. I could control myself. I could walk out of a party on a Thursday night at my fraternity house and go to the library and study. That's what it was about. It was about working hard and smart, and I could do that well. But again, I was surrounded by the smartest in the world, and that really pushed me a lot. We do the same with our students. We have some of the best in the world in our academy. This is Marianne Bartels. She's one of the top Wall Street level professionals. She spent 35 years as one of the top investment officers at Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. She's in our investment club. She's in our crypto and DeFi academy. She's in our Kings of DeFi. She knows what the Fed is going to do before the Fed does it. And she's just one of our many, many assets and one of the many people that we just love spending time with on a regular basis. Again, surround yourself with people like her. You're always going to rise to the top. But it's not just her. We also have a guy named Andrew Haynes, who's really an expert on metaverse. He owns over 700 NFTs. He has a mansion he's built in the metaverse where he has his gallery. He also goes to one of the top executive training schools in Switzerland and hangs out with C-level executives of the Fortune 100 companies. Andrew's incredible, and he's one of our many, many assets inside our Wealth Academy. And it just, the list keeps going on and on. This is Dr. Ankur Patrick, who runs our investment committee in our investment club, where we invest in these early stage startups, a lot like early stage Facebook investments, a la Peter Thiel. And he was never someone that wanted to build a media channel. I gave him a challenge, do 10 videos in 10 days and stick them on social. Don't even think about it. Control your relationship with fear. And he took the challenge and he kept going 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, 50 days. It was uncomfortable. He didn't like the feedback. He didn't like the comments. He kept going. A year later, he uploaded 365 videos in 365 days. And now he's a major influencer in this space. Just got offered $100,000 in pre-sale tokens for free to be an advisor, and he turned it down because he has better offers. He created this. We push our students to be creative, not competitive, and to do things they would never do on their own. Ankur says this. He's like, Brian, this would never have ever happened without you. There's no way I would have done this. I would have been on Twitter following some goofy crypto people and buying the wrong things. Instead, I'm part of a community who pushed me to the next level. That's what we do here. So this is what we do. Also, I'm giving away some special bonuses for the Wealth Academy. I'm going through all of our libraries with everything we've never released before. One of my bonuses, if you join us actually today, is I've got Dan Pena live at the Ritz. This is a special event I did with 30 professionals, 2 of them billionaires, at the Ritz Hotel here in London. I got banned from the Ritz afterwards because Dan was swearing so much, and they wouldn't let me in there for 2 more years. But we have a video of that day, and we're giving that away free for anybody who joins tonight. It's pretty impressive, and I just apologize in advance because he will offend you, because Dan's going to push you out of your comfort zone in order to get to the next level. You're going to have to change the way you're thinking right now and get uncomfortable if you want to create generational wealth. How many people agree with that, right? In order to get uncomfortable, you're going to need a mentor that pushes you. Maybe you listen to them because they inspire you, or maybe you listen to them because you know they're right. Either way, they get you to do what you don't want to do, to be the person you want to become. That's what Pena does, and you get a dose of this if you join us tonight. Secondly, I'm giving a special bonus. I'm giving you Module 1 of our Crypto and DeFi Academy, which is the complex history of all crypto assets. It'll give you a little bit of a taste of what you can go on to do inside of our Wealth Academy, and that's really to learn all of the incredible opportunities happening right now in crypto and DeFi in the metaverse. It's absolutely incredible, and the stuff that we're seeing behind the scenes will blow your mind. On top of that, our Kings of DeFi program, which is our advanced crypto and DeFi program that we do for influencers, for fund managers. We're actually also giving away module 1 there, which is once we teach you how to trade, we call it trading like the Terminator. We teach the 1% rule. We show you how to take profits and limit losses and all sorts of details when it comes to crypto trading that also applies to other assets. This is a very high level program filled with about 100 top people around the world. It's absolutely incredible. And we give you a sneak peek in there into module 1. Again, that's a special bonus if you want to join us tonight. And of course, lastly, it's a pretty hot one. This is module 1 of our investment club. Our investment club is a very high ticket item that is limited to only 10 people a quarter. And it's all goes into early stage investment. This is what Peter Thiel did with Facebook to turn $500,000 into $1 billion. This is early stage pre-sale tokens and early stage equity investments. We just invested $500,000 into 2 really exciting metaverse companies. One actually will be live on the show tomorrow at 10 a.m. That is Dave Broom, the CEO of Orange Comet. We're very excited about that company. And we're introducing them to all of our contacts on the inside We think this is going to be the next DECA unicorn, and we couldn't be more excited, and everyone's invested in it. So that he'll be in here tomorrow. You can watch him live. We give you access to what we're doing in here as well. So this starts your wealth journey that can take you all the way. And again, our students worldwide in the investment club are just off the charts. I mean, we have 50 people in there, some high net worth, some not, who all have the opportunities to learn how to invest early stage into companies. Usually reserved for private equity, right? Or accredited investors, or you need a private banker in Switzerland to get access to the deal. We break down those barriers, and our students can invest with as little as $5,000 into a deal like Orange Comet. That's unheard of. You would never have access to that, ever. And we give access and we teach it as well. So we're really excited about that. So we give that away as well, just so you can start that journey. So anyways, all of those bonuses are pre-approved. That's if you join us tonight. The URL is londonreal.tv/wealth. You can go in there, you can learn more about the program. And I guess I would just say, to reiterate, the primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. Ask yourself, are you managing fear? Are you scared on a regular basis? Do you know deep down inside that if you had someone to push you into the fear, could you not be some more successful? What makes a Richard Branson? What makes a Jeff Bezos? What makes a Zuckerberg? What makes a Buffett? What makes a Pena? They push into fear and they take risks. That's what they do. And if you can manage that, you can be successful. And if you can't, you never will be. You'll never have wealth. Now, I'm not saying money will make you happy, but having wealth brings so many things into your life, including meaning, just by attracting it. And I'm positive that you can do more in this world with the wealth, more good. You can give money away. You can help people. You can inspire people. You can teach people. And so what are you scared of? That's the question. The best investment is in yourself. And you can join us in the Wealth Academy for as little as $4.99 a month, which is honestly just a no-brainer for me. So that's all, londonreal.tv/wealth. I've got time for a little bit of Q&A. I hope that was helpful for everybody here. Helpful for everybody here? Did you learn something tonight? Hopefully somebody just got you thinking about something different. What boggles my mind is that nobody teaches this stuff. And I just don't understand that. Maybe because it doesn't fit into the matrix, maybe it's because ultimately it's not in the banker's interest or anyone's interest, the teacher's interest to get this stuff to you. But this is all true. I live this stuff every day. I have money affirmations. I attract wealth into my life in any way I can. I do it through walking meditations in the quantum field. I do it through digital products. I do it through talking with great people. I do it through smart financial instruments. I got everything covered is what I do. And I want to teach you how to do this all on the inside. So that's it for next steps. Martini, you're here. I just wonder if you have anything to add, because you've watched a lot of our students go through our Crypto and DeFi Academy, go through Kings of DeFi, go through the investment club, and you've seen them really start to change their whole relationship with money and moving forward. Just any thoughts from you, community, et cetera?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And thank you, Brian, for offering this this opportunity for everybody. Because I know for me personally, I've had a chance to connect with a lot of you guys when we were talking about the investment club, and a lot of the feedback had a lot to do with financial resistance, right? And so as I took the notes back to Brian, one thing that I love about Brian is that he is all about the community, all about supporting the community and educating and getting you guys on your path. Thus, based on your feedback, this program has come to life, right? So please take advantage of this opportunity. No matter where you are on your financial journey, we are here to support you every step of the way. Now, I know for myself, when I started with London Real Academy as a student in 2021, when lockdowns were starting, everything was shut down, and I was working 2 jobs on the Las Vegas Strip. And my income was basically shot, right? And so I know from my personal journey of being with the London Real community, I have been able to set my life up in a way to where I'm financially sound at this point. And that my story is not an unlikely story. I've been able to grow with every single person who's coming into this academy. So when Brian talks about the community aspect is one of the most valuable things with this. So no matter where you are in your journey, you're going to be growing with people who are not only wanting you to succeed, but expecting you to succeed, expecting you to reach greater heights, expecting you to go through your financial resistance and start creating that generational wealth. It's so interesting to see how people start out financially struggling to now, and not only, investing in other things and getting themselves financially sound, but now they're going to invest in crypto, invest in stage deals and all of that. It's just incredible to see the amount of growth that is happening with this community. So as I've said before, this community is amazing, and you're going to have people who are going to be on this journey with you. And let's stop this idea of struggling with money. Nothing breaks my heart even more than for someone to say that they want to do something but can't afford it. That is the most heartbreaking thing that anyone can hear or even say, right? So that stops now. So take advantage of this opportunity, guys. Join us in the Wealth Academy, and let's start telling a new story, and let's start planting seeds for a greater future. So I've went ahead and I put in some links, and I'll put them again inside of the chat. So there's a link for you to go ahead and take a look at the Wealth Academy and all that's entailed. And for those of you who have been in our accelerators, sometimes the pages don't do it justice, right? Because we are very hands-on, and when Brian says, he's going to push you across that goal line for success, he is not kidding. So there's also a link for you to go ahead and book a call with me. And for those of you who have had calls with me, there's no pressure, there's no stress, there's none of that. It's just us connecting. And for me, just being able to see how we can definitely support you on your journey. Okay, so there's a link also for this London Real Success Coaches. And if you don't see a time that's available, there's a link for you to connect with me on Facebook or to send me an email. So if there's a time, because I know that we're from all over the world here, if there is a time that you're seeing that's not available that would be better suited for you, please send me a private message so we can schedule some time to connect. You guys are extremely important to us, and we want to get you on that path. So cheers to wealth, and hopefully we'll see you on the inside.
All right, give it up for Martini. How amazing is she, right? And again, that's just one facet. Like, we get to see her, and you'll get to see her all the time in the Wealth Academy as well. So thank you, Martini. I appreciate your story as well. And, look, I used to look at wealth and money in a completely different way. When someone wasn't making it, I used to just think, oh, work harder, or, you're being lazy. And I've changed my view on that. I don't think that's true. I think people literally block money and opportunities and wealth coming from them because of the way they think. I think it's a conscious level. I think it's a subconscious level. I think it's the energy. I think it's the assumptions, and the world responds to that. Most people don't believe they deserve wealth, and most people never see that wealth in the future, don't believe they can get it, deserve it, or any of that stuff. And so guess what? They don't get it on the back of that. And I think until you completely shift that mindset, and it's a very difficult thing to do because default is back to the programming, and everyone is programmed that way. It's just the way we grew up. But if you really can shift that, it's going to be more important than a degree in economics. It's going to be more important than a mentor, a funnel, a product, anything. It really can change, and it can change immediately. And it's something that you can scale and you can magnify. So I think that's really important. And again, the community, I cannot overstate how powerful the community is. It's just very unlikely that in your peer group right now, you have anyone in your peer group that wants to push you to succeed, that you'll listen to. Definitely not. Anybody that really wants you to 10x anything you're doing. They might say it, they might really love you, but deep down inside, subconsciously, they're just gonna hope you stay the same so they can still hang out with you and love you. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Inside my academy, it's a completely different shift because they don't know you. They know you as someone that's on the journey with them. And honestly, they want you to be as successful as possible because then you're more value to the community. So when you sign up, they're like, hey, we're going here. We're going to win. And we need you there with us every step of the way. So let's go. We expect you to do it. We want you to do it. Let's go. It's a completely different environment that you're just not going to find anywhere you are. Otherwise, you'd already be wealthy. And you're probably not if you're listening to this. So that cannot be overstated. And then you got access to me. And if you've got any question about anything, if I don't know the answer, I can probably refer to you one of 10,000 clips I have on YouTube with someone I've spoken to over the last 11 years that can, right? I mean, Jesus, I've spoken to pretty much everyone about everything. And so if I don't, I'll be like, oh, I think I mentioned Rickards talked about that in the episode back then. I'll find the clip or it's here. So I can answer you any questions. I'll be open and honest with my own personal struggles, the successes, how we're making money right now inside the Crypto and DeFi Academy and Investment Club, what works, what doesn't work. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And I'll tell you how I can find out, or I'll go find out for you by one of my guests. So that's an incredible resource to have. And then again, just this roadmap of where we want to go. It's these 6 distinct, simple, but not easy steps. And we're going to run them once, and then we're going to run them again, and then we're going to run them again. And all of my guests are still running those same steps. So the Cardones of the world, the Kiyosakis of the world, they're still trying to run those steps. They always go back to their programming. They always go back to their mindset. They always go back to their revenue streams. They always go back and slash expenses. Grant famously fired about 50 of his staff when COVID happened. And I interviewed him at the time. And it was the right call. And he took a lot of heat for it. But that's because he realizes as an entrepreneur, you constantly have to be evaluating these things. You have to be looking to up your revenues, slash your expenses, attracting the wealth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we're going to do. So look, some great comments and feedback here. I can't say them all, but just like a lot of really good feedback from people understanding this concept of thinking on a higher level, unplugging from the matrix. I got former bankers in here and former entrepreneurs as well, former Mustang owners from JB, the 71 with the 351 Cleveland. I was always jealous of those big V8 guys. So appreciate you. And a lot of people that have been following us for a long time. You know, I'll just finish by just saying a lot of thank yous as well. So thank you, Lionel and Alex and a bunch of people. I'll just say, you know, our mission on the back wall is London Real is our mission is to create a mass scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious and cooperative species. That's what we're trying to do. Fully empowered and wealth are, in my opinion, synonymous. If you can be wealthy, you can be empowered to do anything. You can be a better parent. You can be a better leader. You can give, you can motivate, you can invest, you can spend, you can scale. That's how you can be most effective. As Bud Fox said in the movie Wall Street, there's no nobility in poverty, not anymore. Barely making ends meet or giving all your money to a nonprofit organization. That's not the way to do the most good. It's to make a ton of money and help more people. And again, profits come from delivering value, or as Dan Pena said, you want to make $1 billion, change 1 billion lives. Wealth flows to people who are changing other people's lives for the better. And again, a lot of you don't believe that. A lot of us have bad assumptions. Oh, the wealthy are bad people. Oh, Bezos doesn't deserve $100 billion. Yes, he does. And so does Musk. And so do all those people because they created value. That's why they got the money. It's not a con after 10 or 20 years. But your brain tells you that because it wants to keep you small and your brain was raised on the matrix, right? Does everyone see this? So it works against you. And then you play small and you go about your stupid little life and you end up and it all works out fine. It keeps you ignorant. But that's not true. Let's be honest. That's not true. These people create massive amounts of value. That's how they're wealthy. One doesn't flow without the other. It just doesn't. Not over decades, it doesn't. And so understand that if you're really doing the right things in this world, you should be getting wealthy, by the way. You should be getting wealthy. And if you're not, then you won't be. So I think they're highly aligned and it's just something worth thinking about. I don't think you sacrifice one for the other. Matter of fact, I think you can't get one without the other. So those are my final thoughts. The link is below, leonardreal.tv/wealth. Join us tonight. We'll give you all those bonuses that are usually reserved for the annual program, but we'll give them to you if you join tonight. And I look forward to seeing you for the first live call. Big love to everybody. Thank you for the time tonight. And I hope you're having a wonderful one. And I look forward to seeing you all in the Wealth Academy. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Martini, too. Bye.